Hey everybody. Oh gosh. Whew. I don't know why I'm so nervous. Those of you who know me probably know that I like to write. Writing is my preferred mode of communication. I am definitely most comfortable with a pen and paper. To say that filming this is outside of my comfort zone is an understatement. Huge understatement. So, also if it sounds like I'm reading, it is because I am. Those of you who know my writing know that I tend to go on and on and on. So I wrote what I was going to say, and it's still longer than what it should be, but I am going to read it so that I don't go off on a tangent. But the reason for the video is, considering what I'm about to share, I felt that it was only fitting that you hear the words straight from my own mouth. So, once upon a time, I was a girl in college who dreamt of a career in the performing arts. But I took the practical path, majoring in psychology, to eventually be a child psychologist. Mainly because I wanted the title of doctor without having to deal with blood. But side note, I was also low-key considering being a nun. True story. However, life had other plans, and for various reasons, none of those vocations came to fruition. Over the past 20 plus years, I've gotten a master's degree in social work. I've had 3 kids. I've gotten married. I've held several different completely unrelated jobs. Yay for transferable skills. I've moved at least half a dozen times, including 3 states away from my home state, away from all my family and friends. And in those 20 years, I even managed to squeeze in a little bit of performing with community theater. But that schedule is not for the faint of heart, and it definitely was not for a full-time employed single mother. So I haven't had that in my life in a while, other than going and seeing Broadway shows, which I love. Thank you, my husband. Anyway, in 2011, I began working as a hospice social worker. And honestly, I really felt like I had found my calling, my ministry. Working in hospice has been the most beautiful and most rewarding work that I've ever done. I rediscovered God on that journey. But the cumulative effects of so much vicarious loss, not to mention the overwhelming stress that comes with being a social worker at any job, combined with my own losses and my own struggles, that all took a toll on me. And then COVID hit with its global devastation, pretty much turning the whole world upside down. And for me, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. If you saw my Facebook post, you know what I'm talking about. But it just, everything became too much. So I stopped working, I started therapy, and I began reevaluating my life. Working in hospice puts into perspective how fragile and fleeting life really is. During this time of introspection, an ad popped up on my Facebook feed. And I'm not sure why this ad popped up, because I don't recall Googling anything about it, but an ad popped up on my Facebook feed for voiceover coaching. And something inside me clicked. Or snapped. Time will tell. For about 10 years, I have had an Audible subscription for audiobooks. At first, it was just to make my very lengthy commutes for all my various jobs a little bit more productive. Learn in the car. But I quickly developed this crazy newfound love for books and for knowledge, and I just couldn't get enough. And I also developed a genuine appreciation for a good narrator. I'm looking into Jim Dale. He totally knocked the Harry Potter series out of the park. He did an amazing job. One of the earlier books I listened to was a self-help book for people with ADHD. And it was filled with some of the most eye-opening and life-changing information. It was a great book, but it was so horribly read. I cringed every time I listened to it. Every time I listened to it, I said to the family, I could do a better job than this lady. Every time I played it, everybody moaned because the narration was just that terrible. If you'd like to know the book for ADHD help, I'll tell you offline, but I'm not going to blast this lady publicly because I've got no business doing that. But anyway, me thinking that I could do a better job than that lady reading that ADHD book is when the seed was planted, or maybe rather when it was germinated, since that seed of being a performer has kind of always been inside me. Anyway, I started to wonder exactly how one does get in the biz of doing voiceover work. Those of you who know me and my writing affinity also probably know my particular appreciation for grammar and words and for those things to be used properly. I might be a grammar/diction snob who considers poor speech an abomination. Think Henry Higgins. Anyway, I started paying more attention to the narrators of audiobooks, making mental notes of what made them good or not so good. And then I started practicing those techniques when I would read the books out loud to the kids. I also began to notice how many different settings voiceovers are utilized. If you think about it, like obviously commercials and obviously audiobooks, but cartoons, video games, voicemail, GPS, and of course, even Siri. I had this insatiable curiosity and fascination with the whole thing. So when the ad popped up, I was already kind of primed to take the plunge. Or at least stick a toe in the water. I'm not exactly much of a plunge taker. Even my character on Metopia, I gave her a cautious personality. Yeah, that's me. So, $15 and an hour-long webinar began my journey of becoming a professionally trained voice actor. My paralyzing stage fright and insecurities have still kept me from sharing this news publicly. Literally only like 5 people know. Not anymore, but yeah. But it's time. I have spent my life playing it safe and small, restricted by my own fears. I don't know who said it, but I heard this quote years ago. Action without risk perpetuates mediocrity. And anytime they ask what your favorite quote is, I've always listed that one. I've always put that one down. I've always considered it a favorite. I've been saying that for 15 years. But again, during this time of introspection, after finally sitting still long enough to examine my life, I realized that while I may love that quote, my life does not reflect that philosophy. And it's not like this is the first time I've wondered, what do I want to be when I grow up? Or is this really it? But I think things start to look different after you hit 40. And after spending almost a decade watching people die, some people who were very bitter at not having truly lived and being indescribably inspired by those people who truly did. So I owed it to myself to honor the innate performer within me. Regardless of the outcome, she deserves to be acknowledged, not dismissed as frivolous, impractical, or impossible. Brene Brown said that if I dared greatly to brave the wilderness, equipped with only my vulnerability and my gifts of imperfection, my authentic self could rise strong and dare to lead a wholehearted life. And I want that life. Marianne Williamson told me that my deepest fear is not that I'm inadequate, but that I'm powerful beyond measure, that playing small doesn't serve the world, that I'm meant to shine, making manifest the glory of God, and by doing so, giving all those around me permission to shine. And think about how bright it would be if everyone was shining. Julia Cameron taught me that I am created by the Creator to create, using my creativity as my gift back to God. Through an ordinary nobody, Bruce Wilkinson told me that we all are blessed with a dream, and that it's never too late to pursue it, but that if I don't pursue it, something important won't happen. We're all here for a purpose, and if I don't do what God is stirring inside of me to do, then I miss that call, and everything that would have happened afterwards goes undone. And St. Paul told me that the Spirit of God is not one of timidity or fear, but of power, love, and self-control. I only have to walk in faith and trust that God will guide my path. Meeting so many different people over the years, especially vulnerable and often seemingly invisible people, I've developed a very deep appreciation for the fact that everyone has a story, and how their story, even just their mere existence, becomes a part of my story. Crossing paths with those people changes my life. It changes me, and then it changes everything that I touch. And I think that's amazing, but also it's a big responsibility, I think, we only get one life, you know? So let's make our ripples in the water count. I was made for a purpose that only I can fulfill. I matter. What has been placed in my heart matters. There's only one me, and that's all I have to be. That's what I must be. My voice is not like anyone else's. It's not supposed to be. I have always felt inadequate because I couldn't sing like Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey. Who can? But even if I could, if I sounded just like Mariah Carey, then that would be Mariah Carey's voice. And while I am not ready to sing in front of anyone, taking this step into voice acting is my way of embracing my voice, my authentic self, the unique creation that is me, and putting myself out there. Maybe for someone to say, oh my gosh, I hate the way this lady is talking and I could do this way better than her. But I'm not meant to be like anyone else because I am enough. In fact, it's only when I'm truly myself that I'm at my best. So, without further ado, I humbly present to you Doreen James, voice actor. Thank you for listening.